This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where business owners share their wisdom. It's short to the point to respect people's time. And because we all know, everybody knows transforming possibility happens really fast and it leads to lasting results. That's why we're here. So enough of that. Let's get to it. In a few sentences, Thomas, tell me who you are and what you do.
Well, first off, Brad, thank you so much for the invite here. I always like to start off a podcast and just come in and say I'm grateful to be a guest here. This is a role reversal for me because I'm usually the one hosting others on my own podcast. But basically, a quick overview of me. 42 years old. I currently live in Dallas, Texas, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. It's a term that's thrown out a lot these days, but I started at the age of 21 of my first business. And after 5 years, I crashed and burned that one to the ground because I had no idea what I was doing and went back to work for someone for a couple of years, got back on my feet, and then decided, even though I went through all the pain with the first one, that I didn't have enough pain and went back into business for myself, round two. And that second round was where things started to click finally. I was in that business for 11 years. And the first 5 years of that business, I made every single mistake that I had made in the first business over again. The saving grace was that I actually had a business partner. So between his thick-headedness and my thick-headedness, we were able to kind of power through and hold a lot of weight on our shoulders. And we're two alpha males, and we're going to do it all ourselves. And that's what we did. And finally, about 5 years into that business, I was I think about 35 at the time. I'm a big firm believer of life-altering events. My wife comes to me and she says, "Hey, guess what? I'm pregnant." It's like, "Oh, we're having a kid." And that right there was the life-altering event that I needed, that told me to, hey, there's better ways to do things. There's more potential in this business than you're even possibly aware of. You better put some time, effort, energy into figuring out what they are, so you don't have to be the one who's pushing the buttons and pulling the levers every day. And that's where things really started to kick off and click for me. At that point in time, I got heavily invested into self-development, hiring coaches and mentors, and reading a lot. I hadn't read a book since I was 17 at that point. And it's like, wow, there's this whole other world that just got opened up to me that I had no idea even existed. And I started to fall in love with it. And that's kind of led me to where I am today.
I love it. I love it. Here's a couple things that really jumped out at me, and I want to celebrate you for a moment. What I love about you jumped right in. Alpha male, have done this, and I failed. And then I failed some more, and then I made lots of mistakes. And I love that authenticity. It's a buzzword, right? But you just modeled it. You literally modeled it. You started out with saying, "Look, hey, I'm not perfect here, but I've gotten here, the hard way." As an alpha male, I love that. That vulnerability speaks strength to me. And it's one of the conversations that I love having with people like yourself who are successful. I think that really lends to success, and it's not talked about very often. So I love the vulnerability, and I love you starting out and say, just like, hey, I failed forward, and this is how we get here sometimes. So thank you for just being who you are. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's kind of the way I do things. My friends and those who know me best call me Transparent Tom because I just kind of say it how it is. The New York in me usually has zero or very little filter. So whatever comes here usually goes out of my mouth before I can control it. And that's sometimes good and sometimes not so good. But as I've gotten older, I've learned to control it a bit better. But it's something that I use and I leverage even with my existing team. Like, hey, if I've got something to share with you and tell you, whether you want to hear it or not, you're going to hear it. And it's funny what happens is, by having that open, direct communication, your team begins to trust you more. And they also respect you. So when you actually do call them out on some BS, or you do go and you give them that praise, they know it's coming from a very genuine place.
With you speak my language, Thomas. Really, I often say a statement that says, "Look, this comes from a place of love. If it's okay with you, I want your permission. I'm going to give you some hardcore feedback." And then I speak direct because that's such a gift. And you obviously have come to know that in your life and in your business. That feedback is a gift. So we give it as well as receive it. So that says a lot about you. And I appreciate your sharing.
Thank you. I appreciate that too. Yeah, to me, it's if someone's, and I've been on the other side of the table many times in my life, in my career, where someone doesn't give me that direct feedback. They don't tell me they're not happy with something, or, hey, you could be doing this better. And we wind up wasting so much time. And it's not just my time that gets wasted. It's also the client or the person you're working with or your spouse. You're wasting their time too. So listen, you and I both know that time's finite. We only have a certain amount of time given to us that we have to basically live our lives and be humans while we're here on the planet. And I'm very, very protective of that the older I get.
Yes, I'm only pausing because I want to stress what you just said. Yes, I want to jump for joy. So true. I totally relate, Thomas. Let's switch to question number 2. I mean, because you already dropped some value. That goes deep, and I love it. What's the best thing about being in business? What have you found to be amazing?
To me, a couple things. You get to a certain point, you start making money. That's cool and all great, but it was never the end goal for me. Big things for me is actually being able to take care of your team, right? And most times that's financially. So it's like, hey, you wind up bringing on these people, you hire them, and I'm a firm believer that you take ultimate responsibility for that team member the moment you bring them on. And this is where people screw it up. Let's say you hire 10 people over the course of a year and like, oh, I've got 10 employees, 10 team members who work for me. No, you don't. You got a lot more than that. This is like the pyramid scheme of life, by the way. It's like MLM. You've got your team member who works for you. Let's call him, Billy Bob, right? And Billy Bob's got a wife. He's got 2 kids at home. He's got a mom with Alzheimer's that they're caring for at home. He's got a house. He's got 2 dogs, and he's got 2 cars in the driveway. So guess what? That one person now is, let's call it 5 people, 5 mouths that you're responsible for, plus all of the crap that they have in their lives. Now, multiply that out across the 10 people you have in your team. Some people have 3 people in their household. Some people have 5. Some people are out of their mind and have 17. Right? But my whole point is, like, it's not just one person you're responsible for. As the leader of the organization, you're responsible for that person and everyone that they're responsible for. So that to me holds a lot of weight, and it's been an area that I've been very focused on to ensure that when my people come on and I give them my word and I say, hey, I've got you, you're making X amount of money per week, per month, whatever the arrangement is, it is my duty and obligation to ensure that pay is where it's supposed to be when I said it's going to be there. So, and the thing that I get from that is just fulfillment. It's really wild when you have a team member that comes back and is like, hey, I just bought a new car. Hey, I just went and bought my first house. Hey, I just got married. Hey, I just had a baby. Hey, I just paid for. Hey, I just paid off. Well, guess what? That payment that they're taking care of, this lifestyle that they're living, granted, they worked for it. Okay, but you're the vessel, you're the transportation, you're the connector of making those things happen. And that's where the real fulfillment is for me.
I love it. This is such a great topic. Also, and one that's a fairly popular topic now with globalization. So I'm glad you mentioned this in being a great part of, being a business. Teamwork is huge. And we all know, anybody listening or watching knows how challenging it is to build a team. If you've just started in business, then wow, you're feeling that right now. You're going, yeah, that's me. That's one of the most challenging things about any business is building your team. So right to the heart of it, you jumped right into leadership. You didn't mention the term, but you were walking the talk. You illustrated how you can take care of your team. It's very obvious when people focus only on money and they're paying somebody, $3 an hour to do a job, and they're not taking care of there's different philosophies. I'm not taking away from that. If that's you, that's cool. But I've learned differently, and we all have our own views and beliefs, sure. But it's challenging. I love that you spoke directly to taking care of your team and illustrated that it's not just the team member, but all their families as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Beautiful. Wonderful. Let's switch to question number 3. This is a fun question. I know you're going to have a lot of value to drop, and I'm sure you have some thoughts around this, and it's fun. we hear from other business owners that they're getting so much business. And this is true today, right now. There's tons of businesses that are getting so much business. And if you're not, that's a different question. But they get so much business that the chaos sometimes causes overwhelm. Thomas, would you be willing to share your thoughts about that?
Yeah. So small business is typically a cycle, especially if you don't have a recurring revenue model. So you have, oh my God, I need to go sell something to go pay the bills and make sure I got payroll covered. And you go out there and you bust your ass for a week, 2 weeks, a month. You finally get those sales. And all of a sudden you got to take the sales rep's hat off and go put the fulfillment hat on. And what happens is when you go to put the fulfillment hat on, and fulfillment could be a number of things depending on what you do. Okay. In my instance, my last company, it was actually getting in the field and installing GPS tracking devices into commercial trucks. When you put that fulfillment hat on and you start doing the work that actually allows that dollar to come in, because you need to fulfill in order to get paid in most instances. Well, guess what? Now you've taken off your marketing, your prospecting, and your sales hat, and you've also put pretty much you built a dam in front of your sales pipeline. So you go in, you start doing the fulfillment, which is required, by the way. It's part of your duties and obligations of whatever it was you just sold. So you waste all that, not waste, but you spend all this time doing the fulfillment and you shut off the sales pipeline is what you're doing. And it's a vicious cycle. So once you're done with the project, you finish your fulfillment, you got to go back into sales mode. And you have to basically restart that engine of the sales machine, that sales pipeline. And it takes 3 times as long for you to get the momentum going there again. It's one of the biggest challenges I've seen in small business. And this is one that I faced countless times myself. But you really need to, this is where you can't do it all yourself. You have to build a team. And in order to build a team effectively, this is a whole topic that we could probably spend 8 hours of a podcast on, right? But you've got to, I'm a firm believer of hire and fire to core values, right? You need to bring people in who align with you. If they don't align, and this goes for not just team members, but also clients, don't do business with them. You also need to effectively document what you're doing, how you do it, so you can then delegate it to your people that you bring on. So many times as a business owner, we say, hey man, I just need somebody with a pulse to get in here and I need a body. And that body comes in and they stand around in the corner for 3 weeks because you have nothing to give them to do, because it takes you longer to go train them and tell them how to go do something rather than for you to just go do it yourself. It's a vicious cycle. And again, I'm telling you this because I've actually done this and made all these mistakes over and over again. So it's counterintuitive, but when you actually step back and spend some time working on the business, as cliche as that sounds, you gotta document some things. You got to make a checklist. You have to develop a system for someone to follow in that role. And if you do that, trust me, it's a copy and paste methodology. You wind up having to do it for each position, each job role within the company. But after a while, and this is not something that's going to happen overnight, after a while, you're going to step back and you're going to say, I just spent a week in 𝐂𝐤𝐿 and my business still operated without me. And I didn't get any phone calls. There were no major fires. Nobody got hurt. Nobody fell off. We didn't lose any clients. And while I wasn't there, believe it or not, we still collected money. Imagine that.
You make me want to literally jump out of my chair, jump for joy, Thomas, as an integrator. So we have a lot of visionaries, a lot of integrators. As an integrator, what you shared speaks to me deeply, and it's what we share with a lot of business owners, right? You and I and people who do what we do. It's so important of a topic. What I love about what you said is you dropped right into cycles. You are the first person to actually use the term in nearly 100 podcasts that use the term cycles, business cycles. And you spoke about a very powerful topic. Speakers, coaches, service-based providers, like there's so many people out there, not exclusive to those, but they jump out to me, who do a launch, sell a product, and then fulfill. And they're stopping the locomotive. Like you illustrated, right? To pick up a few more cars, and then they're starting the locomotive again, all pushing the locomotive. Like, that is a hard way to go. And it doesn't need to be that way if you just build simple systems and SOPs, like you were saying. Beautiful. I'm glad that you shared that, because that's something that Yes, you. I'm talking to you who's listening and watching right now, and you're going, yeah, that's me. And it's solvable. It's a solvable problem. So
Mhm.
thank you, Thomas. I appreciate you. We're going to jump to question number 4. Is I'm dying to get to question number 5, where we talk about the wisdom, right? You've already dropped so much value, and I appreciate you. What other successful business owners like yourself, of course, Thomas, should be on the Unlimited Wisdom podcast?
So I've got some really close friends and business partners. I think I'm going to rattle off a couple of names to you here. And this is probably going to jump into question 5 too, but these are 5 gentlemen that are close friends of mine. We all met each other in a mastermind group, which is actually the one that I run today. They started as clients, we became close friends, and then we actually formed a business entity together. And we have our first event coming up next Thursday in Dallas, Texas, where we have about 350 people coming into a room, so we can pour into them from the stage, which is awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'll rattle them off. We've got Chris Whitehead, we've got Mike Claudio, we've got Drew B. Wilson, we've got Brian McKittrick, and we've got Mark Zalmanoff. Now, I know I just threw a lot of names at you there, but these are 5 gentlemen who I've spent countless hours with, both personally and professionally. And I'm telling you, each one of these guys can come here and drop some superior value and knowledge to your audience.
I love it. I have a question. I know you weren't prepped for this, and it's okay if you say, there's not enough time for this. I imagine each one of those those guys has a specialty, right? Do you know their specialties off the top of your head?
Yeah, sure. So Mark Zalmanoff, let's start with him. He spent damn near 30 years in the fitness space. And he's my personal trainer to this day, but he's also gone and expanded. He systematized his gym. He's gone and expanded, and he does a lot of stuff. He actually opened up another business, and he coaches other fitness professionals how to do that for themselves. Every one of those guys that I also mentioned happens to be an Apex executive coach in our Apex mastermind as well. So they've been vetted. They've come through our systems as well, which is great. One of the criteria, by the way, in order to become an Apex executive coach is you have to be a published author. So each of these guys has written a book. And I know most of them are on either book 2 or book 3 at this point, which is pretty cool too. We've got Brian McKittrick. He's another dear friend of mine. Brian is in the health insurance space. He sells health insurance to this day. He owns a couple of companies in that vertical. He also owns a training company where they train new people who are looking to get licensed in that space. So that's his main gig, but he is a sales process genius, very tech heavy guy, has gone in and built a lot of the systems and processes himself, because there was a point in time where he couldn't afford to pay for it. And he went and figured everything out, built it himself, and has turned this thing into a massive conglomerate for himself with multiple entities and just really good cash flow coming in for all of his companies, which is wild. And he does look like he sells insurance. We make fun of him all the time. He's always wearing the sweater, it's let's switch gears. So we've got Drew B. Wilson. Drew B. Wilson is actually our VP of sales at Break Free Academy. He sells Apex is what he does. Drew B's another dear friend. His strength is just being an absolute sales savage. And, some people think like, hey, that's a derogatory term. No, not at all. Drew B he's a servant. He's never cold calling somebody. He's never pushing things down their throat. He's literally there to help you when you're ready to make the best decision that fits your life and your business and your needs. Like most companies, we have a couple of different products that we offer. And depending upon the questions that he's going to ask you and the way that you answer them and whatnot, he's going to point you in the right direction within our programs. And because he has that servant heart, he's this past year, 2021 was his best year ever in sales. And the numbers that he put up on the board were just incredible, which is cool. And again, very process oriented guy, big with the sales pipeline, has an amazing follow-up system that he's built. And again, this goes across the board for all of these gentlemen, is very structured days, live and die by the calendar. The calendar is the boss. Because ultimately, when you get to a certain level, like we are as business owners or executives in companies, like there is nobody watching over your shoulder throughout the day. So that calendar has to become your boss. And these guys have really embraced that lifestyle, and it's done wonders for them, myself included. So we got Mark covered, we got Drewby covered. Well, let's go. We got Brian covered. We've got Mike Claudio. Mike Claudio is the owner of Win Rate Consulting out of North Carolina. Mike's specialty is coaching construction-based businesses, but he's ventured out now, and he's doing consulting with a lot of other companies as well. He's got a couple different packages and programs there, and he is absolutely dialed in at what he does. It's funny, some of these gentlemen that I'm mentioning to you were actually coaching clients of mine first. That's how we began to build our relationships, whole know, like, and trust factor. And I've gotten to see behind the scenes of what Mike does to structure his life, both personally, professionally, his day. You know, I'm close with his family, and he's probably the most dialed in individual I've ever met. If Mike has something to do within his life, he has a spreadsheet for it.
Love it. I'm going to jump. I know we got one left, but I'm going to jump in here really quick, because if you're listening right now, or you're watching and you're saying like, wow, he's going into a lot of detail about these guys. There's a reason. There's a very intentional reason, Thomas, why I asked you that question. And I knew that you would have the answer. Imagine, if you're watching or listening, imagine the power of having people beside you like this and knowing exactly what they do with very specific specialties. This is what mastermind groups can do for you. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there, seasoned and new, who have never, maybe they heard the term or they've heard some stuff on the internet about it, but they don't really know the power of it. Having a team of people, of experts around you in various fields is very powerful. A lot of people align themselves just to one trade, right? So if you're a coach, you're like hanging out with a bunch of coaches, and that's a bubble. And to break these bubbles, one of the greatest ways is to connect with a coach or consultant, but another one is to get involved in the mastermind, like your own, so you get the feedback from other people and you have a whole team of people around you. So if you're listening and watching, I want to just break in before he goes to the last one and tell you why. Hang with us before we get to the wisdom. Go ahead.
Yeah. You know, you get together with people like this, and one of the reasons that we're good, close friends is there's no BS, and everyone has tough days occasionally. We communicate often, multiple times a day, usually in some form of a chat group with just the couple of us there, and we can get real serious, real vulnerable, and also have a pretty fun ball breaking session at the same time. Gotcha. But the support is there no matter what. You have a bad day, a situation popped up, cool. You've got this guy. Hey, I need help with, do you know anybody? Yep, I sure do. Connect with this guy. He's great. So that right there goes back to the whole saving time. If one of my good, close friends who I respect and trust has a connection and he tells me that this person is good, I don't waste any time vetting that person because I trust the person who led me to them. Right. All right. So I got sidetracked there, but I thought that was important to cover.
Great. Who's the last? The last, not gentleman, the last forever, but
yeah, it's Mr. Chris Whitehead, another close dear friend of mine. Chris has got a handful of businesses. He still currently owns New England Custom Remodeling out of New Hampshire. He's got a multi-million-dollar high-end home remodeling business. He's got 𝐂𝐥𝐞𝐚𝐫. He's got his own coaching mastermind group as well. And he also happens to be our director of executive coaches at Break Free Academy. So he's got his hands full. He's got a lot going on. But again, very genuine guy. I've learned a lot from him. Same thing at Two-Way Street. I actually coached him for a while, became a best-selling author about 6 months ago for the first time. He's working on book 2 now, which is great. And he's just one of those genuine people who shoot you straight and will call you out at the same point in time if you're not holding your end or holding your weight, which is why I just have the ultimate respect for him. But this is a group of gentlemen. Like I said, I have the utmost respect for all of them, and we help each other every single day. And because we come together and help each other, we're able to go further.
I love it. Again, walking the talk. So not only did you illustrate each one, but you spoke powerfully and from heart, you spoke heart-centered, and it shows. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the depth. So let's switch to question number 5. They're like, okay, what's the wisdom? What's the wisdom? Right. So what piece of wisdom would you share with other business owners, Thomas?
Piece of wisdom. Never stop learning, ever. I mean, ever. And I can't stress that point enough. Again, going back to this group of gentlemen who I just mentioned, if one reads a book and it's a good book, guess what? We all know about it. And that book comes, it's ordered, whether you're an audiobook guy, whether you're a Kindle guy or a paperback or hardcover, I don't care. I mean, you can see a bookshelf behind me full of books. And the ones that are horizontal, not vertical, those are the books to be read. So as those guys go and read books, they give me an idea and I immediately go and order the book, and it's in the queue.
That's called a system.
It sure is. But yeah, continuously learn. And one of the hacks that I have to it, and this is, thank God we live in the day and age that we do with technology. Some people give it a bad rap, but I'm not going to. We have the ability to, listen, we all need downtime occasionally, right? And what you choose to do with your time is your responsibility and your responsibility only. You can either sit in front of the TV and waste 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, or you can go and educate yourself while still relaxing and maybe sitting on the couch and drinking a beer, right? So one of the things that I do that's really helped me tremendously, it's funny, I just had this conversation with a personal coaching client yesterday, is first off, I got rid of cable at home. I have no cable whatsoever. I have streaming abilities. So Netflix, and if we're going to watch a movie with the kids, whatnot. But the biggest channel that gets the most watch time from me is YouTube. Because if there's something that I need to go learn more about, if there's a new software we implement at the company, if there's a new speaker who I want to go and maybe model after or learn how to do something better, stage presence, public speaking, body language, the whole 9 yards, I can go to YouTube, okay, the world's second largest search engine, and search what I'm looking for and go educate myself while still relaxing.
With you 100%. I think they just got bumped. I could be totally wrong. I'm not correcting you. I think TikTok just bypassed Google, and Google now is second and YouTube is third or something like that. I don't know. I saw something.
I wouldn't doubt that.
So I think that's the way it shifted. We live in a fast-paced world, don't we? Information is at a premium. I love what you're saying, Thomas. So not only do you say growth mindset is important, but you gave examples. Look, everything is online for us today, pretty much. And it's an important topic. Learning is so important. I wouldn't be where I am today had I not stopped and started reading. So I, like you said in the beginning, like there was a time where I didn't read. I was out in the field working and all these things, right? And life happens, right? Business happens. But getting reeled back in, I believe that there's some books out there. There's books out there that have generated $50,000 for me. So I want to illustrate what he's saying in financial terms, because sometimes that causes a shift in people, right? YouTube is really powerful. I went through a big, massive shift 15 years ago, and YouTube was really powerful for me through that shift. And then came the point where I needed a little more than that. But it's a great way to get some real general information and get yourself geared up. Yeah. Every time I start a new application, like you said, Thomas, a new, I start using Monday or I start using something else, right? I go to YouTube and I say, hey, what kind of videos are on here? It's so powerful if you use it wisely and effectively as you described. So I love that. What would you say? Well, you mentioned books, so I'm a big book fan. Is there anything that jumps out at you that you've read recently that you find really powerful?
Yeah, I'm reading one right now. I gotta look at the title. It's actually an audiobook. So I always have a physical book that I'm reading and always an audio book as well.
Love it.
But this one is fantastic here. This is called Powerful by Patty McCord. She was the HR executive at Netflix for a number of years. And this book is real big on culture, real big on interacting with your team and getting feedback from them. And it's definitely a different approach. It's actually a less structured approach than you would think in corporate America. So coming from the small business area where we're definitely less structured than your typical corporate America role or job, it aligns with me tremendously. So there's some stuff in there that I've written notes on already, where I'm going to go and implement some stuff over the next quarter in our company and basically give it the good old split test, the A/B test, and see, hey, is this working better? Is this making our team better? Are we more efficient? Are we making more money? Cool. And then if not, we're just going to eliminate it.
I love it. I know we've gone pretty deep here in a little bit. over what I typically do, but this has been powerful. So I'm going to ask two pretty rapid fire questions, and then we'll get to how people can reach out to you.
Sure.
You've already spoken to the team, and so we've kind of touched on this. One of the most challenging things for people was to build the team. What advice would you give to someone who's saying or said earlier when we were talking about it, like, oh yeah, that's me. I really need to build my team, but I'm not sure how. Any thoughts or recommendations or suggestions for someone in that space, Thomas?
Yeah. First off, everything needs a process. Don't ever forget that. Okay. And even if you don't think you have a process, trust me, you do. So go design it, write it down, figure it out. No excuses. This is the main thing that I think that most people screw up in business is they come in, they get the entity, they get the business, they start doing the work, and all of a sudden it's overwhelmed. And now they need people, and they need people to help, and they wind up bringing in the wrong people. And what happens if you bring in the wrong people? It's like a cancer to the culture of the company. They don't fit, and things just go awry very quickly. The biggest piece of the puzzle that most business owners skip over, right? And I think that this needs to be like step 1, 2, and 3, even before you structure the entity and open the bank account kind of thing, is you've got to get clarity on the vision of your company. And the vision to me is 3 equal parts. Okay. It's, hey, why are we in business? Like, what's the purpose? What's the mission that we're on? Like, what are we doing? Who are we serving? And by when? And number 3, which is probably the biggest piece of this component to me, is core values. If you don't know your values and what you stand for, what you don't stand for, then you're in for a world of trouble over the next couple of years. And when you least expect it too. So if you do that hard work there and get clarity up front, you're going to be light years ahead of the competition. So go ahead. As counterintuitive as it sounds, go do the inner work needed to get the structure of that company. This is the foundational stuff. And what happens is you end up going, you build the company and you don't have that stuff in place. Imagine building a house with a crappy foundation or no foundation. What's going to happen after a year, 3 years, 5 years? It's going to fall apart. All right. Same thing with the business. So go and put the foundation you need in place. And trust me when I tell you this, it's going to save you a lot of time, effort, energy, resources, and anything else you can think of in that vein.
Not only do I want to scream from the rooftops, but I also want to just jump up and yell like, hallelujah. That's some serious advice, and advice that not many people follow. It's so shocking when you like, I mean, we live in a fast-paced world. So you and I both know, and a lot of people even listening, if you're experienced, like, yeah, I remember talking to this business owner. He's been in business. He's crushing it. He's making 6 figures. He still doesn't know what he's doing. That's called a mess, right? It's a mess. It's a house of cards waiting to fall. So when you say foundation, I've built foundations all over the country. I've had to tear some foundations and rip them up. And sometimes that's what we have to do in business. You don't want to do that. So build your foundation first. I love the advice. It's great advice. Okay. Rapid question. Look, website, social media. I did my due diligence on you. What's something from the, like, someone goes out and they're like, hey, this guy speaks truth. I really like him. I need to connect with him. They go out through social media, they get on the website and all that kind of stuff. What's something they wouldn't find about you on all of that?
Something they wouldn't find about me. I probably don't speak enough about my love of the outdoors. Yeah. So I like to go out, and whether people like this or not, I really don't care, because just me being transparent. I like to hunt. That's my favorite pastime in the outdoors. You can kind of see a couple of deer heads behind me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, I like to go out, like shoot guns, shoot bows, and when the season's right, go out and hunt. As a matter of fact, Tuesday morning. So today's Thursday. 2 days ago, I went out early in the morning, and we went on a guided duck hunt about an hour here from my house. Went out with a couple of friends locally, and we hit our limit on ducks in 13 minutes.
Wow. I was exposed to some duck hunting when I was in Arkansas. It's actually pretty fun. And deer hunting, I'm from Pennsylvania, so deer hunting, I know you're from New York. That's a pretty big thing there. So anyway, that's great. This is the last question. We work to live. not live to work. It's the reason why a lot of entrepreneurs become entrepreneurs. So what's the most fun vacation you've ever had, Thomas?
I just had it. Literally was on it this past weekend. The gentleman I mentioned before, those are the 5 amazing people in my life. We formed a company about 6 months ago. We have an event coming up next year, and it all formed and started with a joke. It's funny how things happen. My one good buddy, 𝐂𝐿𝐿, his birthday is in December, and he's told his wife, "Hey, I'm 35 years old. I get gypped every year, and I don't have a good birthday because it overlaps with Christmas." So cool. She went out and she kind of went behind his back in a good way, and she structured a birthday party for him. And what we did was we actually rented a mansion in 𝐂𝐿𝐿𝐥𝐿 that overlooked the Pacific Ocean. So we went down there. We had the 6 of us with our significant others, no kids. We went there as adults. We spent 3 or 4 days down there. And the amazing part is, you rent this house and it comes with all the amenities you would have at a very fine hotel. So we've got housekeepers, we've got chefs and bartenders. They went and did all the shopping. They cooked everything for us. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. And it was, I just felt at home being there, even though it wasn't my home. Very relaxed, around people that I care about, around people that I don't have to put on a mask and be somebody different. Not that that's my personality, not that I do that, but it's just a reality. Go out there, be yourself, be authentic, and have a great time with people you care about. And that's that vacation right there. Even though it wasn't a week or 10 days or whatnot, it was a quick trip in, quick trip out. It was a recharge and a reset where we got to learn about people on a level that we hadn't before, even though we're all close to begin with. And why I said this is so funny was this event that we're throwing next week, which is going to be February 3rd, 2022. I don't know when this is going to air. But this event was something that we thought about doing because, like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could throw an event and at least make back the money so 𝐂𝐿𝐿 was free? Nice. And the funny thing is, like, yeah, we put the event together. We sold out almost all the tickets at this point. And not only was 𝐂𝐿𝐿 covered and paid for, but then some. Probably the next 𝐂𝐿𝐿 trip's about half paid for at this point. So again, the intent wasn't there to go out and make money. The intent is to pour into the audience when they're there to help them to listen. At Break Free Academy, our mission is to elevate those to become the most elite versions of themselves. Right now, granted, this is technically not a Break Free Academy event. It's a Goon Squad event. That's the entity that we structured. But there's overlap. We've got a lot of different people from both companies coming there, and it's something that we all believe in, right? We're all striving each and every day to become the best version of ourselves. And we've got a formula and a methodology that we actually apply and live and die by. And I've firsthand seen the differences in the lives of each of these men, including myself, because we follow that formula daily.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, there's a reason to why we do what we do and the intentionality behind it. Create some dividends. There's nothing wrong with that. I love it. That's what we all hope for, right? So you just spoke into what that can look like and how that looks for some people. So I love it. Look, Thomas, I appreciate the investment of your time. Again, we've gone over a little bit, but I know this is an investment of your time. You crafted out this piece, this chunk of your day to share with people and serve them. And it really speaks volumes of how you serve your clients and the people in your life. You've displayed on this call, so I appreciate you. What's the website or social media when somebody watches this, listens to it, and they're like, I have to reach out to this guy? What's the best way for them to do that?
There's 3 pieces. The 2 social media platforms I'm most active on is Facebook and Instagram. So Facebook, it's my name, Tomas Keenan. Just know that I don't have an H in my name. We were joking earlier. My name is actually Tomas. So Tomas Keenan, no H. If you're going to find me on Instagram, it's at the Integrator Coach, or you can head over to my website, which is simply thomaskeenan.com.
I love it. I love it. Very clear. Get on the website, get on social media, hit them up. Thomas, again, I thank you. This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast. We're business owners. We talked about it. They're making 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Look, yes, it's about the money, but it's not all about the money. It's about sharing wisdom and creating global impact. Thanks for joining us. And now I like to say there's unity in community. So thanks for watching and listening. Cheers.